Hey, how are you doing? Let's talk a little bit about poverty in America. A presentation here. I want to give you some facts as you kind of jump into this last unit in economics here. Poverty in America is an interesting problem. According to the Urban Institute, the poverty rate in America in 2021 will be about 13.7%. They use statistics based on reporting data from various economic firms and just performance measures. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But that means about 1 in 7 American families of 4 people or more will have a household income of less than $26,500. Poverty is defined according to standards that were set in the 60s, and they still use those today. And it's based on household size, and there's a different number there. Like for four is 2,600, for one, it's like 17,000 or something like that. But anyway, you get an idea of that. So that's some base raw numbers. Oh, I don't know why that one's in there, but oh, I remember it got moved around. But anyway, so here's a little, I'll move my head. Here's a little map or yeah, that kind of shows percentage below the poverty line, and those figures, and this is from a survey done in 2015 to 2019, so this data is not super old, but it's even anywhere 6 years old or so. So 20% of more of the population in New Mexico, uh, Alabama, and what state is this? I don't know. Oh, I got, but anyway, is way below. I don't know what this is out here. Oh, maybe it's one of the territories, one of the islands. You can see some of these out here. It's Puerto Rico. It's 40%. Um, and I guess this is Mississippi. Sorry, not Alabama. Man, my geography, that's bad. But anyway, you get the idea. And then here it is. And then less than 10%. What states are those? Up here, some in the Northeast. So you get a feel for statistically where people have less money and where they have more money, or at least where they live below the poverty line on the slide. The projected poverty rate, like I mentioned before, is 13.9%. It's an important number to remember. The poverty rate for children is about 5.6 for adults. So that's going to be anybody 17 and under. For adults 18 to 64, it's 8.1%. And for adults over 65, it's 9.2%. And the poverty rate is projected higher for Black Americans, Hispanics, and Asian American or Pacific Islanders, over whites or white Americans. Um, the impact of federal stimulus. Without the stimulus checks and without other means in place, 12.4 million more Americans would be in poverty. SNAP or food stamps help keep 7.9 million Americans out of poverty. Unemployment insurance keeps another 6.7 million out. So all combined for children alone, these programs reduce poverty in children about 81%. So without these programs, there would be 30 million or something like that children in poverty. And with them, there's 5.6. So that's pretty significant. So the federal government does do things to help. One of the things that we've discovered is that poverty in America is still measured the same way it is in 1964, regardless of any changes. So here we are, 2021, and 40, 50, 50, almost 60 years ago, is when we started measuring poverty the way we do, and we still do it that way. This is a problem because it takes a conservative look at poverty, and it underplays the impact that poverty has in America. We might be the richest nation in the world, but safety nets that are in place don't recognize every American who is poor. So the difference between poverty and being poor is kind of what we're talking about. So poverty, we see that, but what about that gap between people, that family of four that makes $27,000? They're not poverty, and they may not qualify for programs that help people who are considered in poverty. And we especially discovered this during this pandemic. So poverty ultimately will touch 6 in 10 Americans at some point in their lives. So it's important for that America starts to change the way that it looks at poverty, it will change the way that it uses new techniques, new ideas. So what do we do? According to the Center for American Progress, According to the Center for American Progress, there are 12 solutions that we could have. And I want you to pay attention to these solutions. I'm going to ask you to, in the assignment that comes along with this video, I'm going to ask you to kind of think about a couple of them and tell me which ones, like if you had to choose two or something like that, which ones do you think would work best? Or maybe choose the two that you think would work best. And we'll talk about these here in just a second. I'll give you a brief summary of these, and I will also include these on the assignment, so you won't have to remember or write these down, not from right here. So the first 5 are expand safety net programs to benefit all in need. So that are things like economic stimulus. If your family got stimulus checks, or you got a stimulus check during this pandemic, that was for anybody that made under $100,000. So and that helped keep people. That simple payment helped keep people out of poverty, or out of situations that could have been bad, during the pandemic. So it's not simple. It's not easy just to say, let's give out money. There's all kinds of things involved with it. But the idea of a government stepping in and maybe helping out in that sense for everybody, not just people below the poverty line, but people that are hardworking Americans that continue to struggle as well. The second one, and this is pretty straightforward: create good paying jobs that meet family needs. Thirdly, raise the minimum wage to ensure economic stability for all. And raising the minimum wage, like a lot of states or a lot of cities or states have raised minimum wages to something like $15 an hour because of the needs. They also put things in place to help those businesses that need, that have to pay that money out too. So that's part of this process. It's not just saying to a business, hey, you got to now pay your worker $15 an hour, figure it out. Okay. Hopefully the government continues to find ways to help that same business pay its employees and also keep operating. Provide permanent paid family leave and medical leave and paid sick days. This is a big deal, especially if we're talking about building wealth in this country, and not just getting people out of poverty, but allowing them to stay out of poverty. We need to help them stay healthy so that they can keep working, make the money they need to work. And also, if they do get sick, don't force them. Sickness or illness can cause poverty, and so can cause people, bad economic situations. And so if we can pay them when they're sick and they feel confident that they have their job back and they can work to get and stay healthy, that's what we're talking about here. We want to increase worker power to rebalance the labor market. And this is a challenging one, but what we're really talking about here is putting the power back into the hands of the worker and allowing them some control over their jobs, not sending jobs overseas, not, keeping jobs and businesses here in this country, and then balancing that market that's there. Number 6, make permanent increases to the child tax credit and earned income. So this is related to paying taxes, but and getting credit. It's not just getting credit for having kids. It's acknowledging that building families and giving incentives, or giving tax credit to individuals that have kids, because some of you may have your own kids and you're starting to understand this, but having children is one of the most amazing things in the world, but it's also challenging from an economic standpoint. And so this is just one way to sort of give back, or to help and acknowledge the expenses that go along with that. And it sounds weird when I say it that way, because it monetarily defines the idea of having a child, but it's part of that process. Support pay equity, and this means paying women the same as paying men, and paying members of different ethnic groups, different race, to use that idea, the same in a fair labor market. Invest in high quality and affordable childcare and early childhood education. So allow people to send their kids to school that in a safe environment that's quality, and then that starts the learning processes early. Expand access to healthcare all across the board. Why don't we have universal healthcare in this country? And yes, there's expenses and there's all this stuff involved in it, but there is no reason why someone can't get healthcare if they need it. And the emergency room isn't the answer to that, shouldn't be the answer to that. I know it's the solution that's used right now, but that's because that's what some families are forced to do. Reform the criminal justice system and enact policies that support successful reentry. This I could talk for 20, 30 minutes about, but we have a problem in this country with putting people in jail and not. We have more incarcerated people in this country than the rest of the world combined. Um, and so we need to revisit why we lock people up and what that serves, what purpose that serves, at least according to uh, this document. And I know that some people might not agree with that, but that's one of the suggestions here. Invest in affordable, accessible housing. Anybody try to rent here? Yeah. Anyway, and then and then modernize the supplemental security insurance program. And this is um, unemployment insurance is what this is saying. So kind of figure out what that is and how that helps people, and then and all that. So that's just some things to think about. If you're interested, gosh, if you're interested, this is where I got this information from. I always this isn't my information, so these are my works. You can go back and look at these documents specifically, and then just kind of when you get through this, read some things about poverty and come back and answer the questions that are going to be on this assignment. All right, cool. Thanks.